The 10th of May, 1940, World War II, the Netherlands. Nazi Germany invades Holland, and the German air forces, the Luftwaffe, use paratroopers in the capture of tactical points and to assist in the advance of ground troops across the country. The invasion is accompanied by heavy aerial bombardment of Rotterdam and culminates on the 14th of May with the destruction of its entire historic center. Because the Germans threatened to bomb the city of Utrecht in the same way, the Dutch forces surrender 1 day later. Soon after, the Nazis start to occupy the whole country and pass new anti-Jewish laws, which are designed to exclude Jewish people from society and restrict their livelihood. The systematic deportations of Dutch Jews to death camps start in July 1942. Many Jews go into hiding, but the possibility of their survival is reduced by the presence of Jew hunters, tempted by the lure of monetary rewards. They are headed by a sadistic Dutch police officer working for the Nazi intelligence agency, the SD. His name is Pieter Schaap. Pieter Schaap was born on the 18th of June, 1902, in Zandvoort, the Netherlands. In 1926, at the age of 24, he became a police officer in Amsterdam and rose to the rank of detective sergeant. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party came into power in Germany in January 1933. The Nazi regime quickly began to implement radical racial, political, and social policies which restricted the civil and human rights of the Jews, who, according to the census of the 16th of June, 1933, accounted for less than 0.8% of the total population of 67 million. During the first 6 years of Hitler's rule, German Jews felt the effects of legislation that transformed them from citizens to outcasts, and by early 1939, only about 16% of the Jewish breadwinners had steady employment of any kind. While in January 1933, some 522,000 Jews by religious definition lived in Germany, approximately 304,000 of them emigrated during the first 6 years of the Nazi dictatorship. 15,000 of them fled to the Netherlands. World War II started on the 1st of September 1939. On the 10th of May 1940, Germany invaded the Netherlands. Soon after, a civil administration was installed under the SS auspices, and Arthur Seyss-Inquart was appointed Reich Commissar of the Netherlands. Among his first steps were a series of laws posing economic discriminations against the Jews. During 1940, the German occupation authorities banned Jews from the civil service and required Jews to register the assets of their business enterprises. In January 1941, the German authorities required all Jews to register themselves as Jews. The Germans claimed that the requirement that all Jews register was for their own safety, but the truth was that it enabled their future deportations, as the Nazis could easily track them down. A total of 159,806 persons were registered, including 19,561 persons born of mixed marriages. The total number included some 25,000 Jewish refugees from the German Reich. A Jewish council was established in February 1941. Regulations which forced Jews to wear a yellow Star of David on their clothing as a means of identification were announced in the Netherlands on the 29th of April, 1942. Those caught without the badge after the 5th of May, when they came into effect, were arrested and detained for a 6-week period to serve at Mauthausen. In the Netherlands, everyone knew that this was a death sentence. Deportations of Jews from the Netherlands began in July 1942. Transports regularly left the transit camps of Westerbork and Vught. The last train left Westerbork for Auschwitz on the 3rd of September 1944. During these 2 years, the Germans and their Dutch collaborators deported some 107,000 Jews, mostly to Auschwitz and Sobibor, where they were murdered. Only 5,200 survived. In addition, 25,000 to 30,000 Jews went into hiding, assisted by the Dutch underground. In 1943, Pieter Schaap became a member of the Office of Jewish Affairs of the Amsterdam Police, which arrested and interrogated Jews in hiding. The department was under the leadership of the SD, a Nazi Party intelligence service. In his position, Schaap, who soon acquired a reputation as a fanatical persecutor of Dutch Jews, was jointly responsible for the arrest of 10,000 Jews who were subsequently deported to concentration camps in the East. Some of them, however, were not transported, as they did not survive his sadistic interrogating methods. He would often beat and whip his victims or have their fingernails pulled out. Some of the captured Jews were also given a choice: either go to the east or work together with the Nazis. The procedure went as follows. The so-called V-women or V-men, who were collaborators secretly working as a kind of agent provocateur for the Germans, in this case the SD, contacted intended victims, gained their trust, and extracted as much information as possible. Subsequently, Schaap was informed and made the arrests. People who went into hiding were punished or extorted. As long as they performed well, these V agents did not have to fear deportation, did not have to wear a yellow star, and also received good monetary rewards. At first, Schaap used heavy threats, but soon he managed to manipulate them into doing their work with enthusiasm. Those who did not deliver enough were again threatened by him with transport to Nazi camp. Schaap's most famous Jewish agent was Ans van Dijk, who together with her accomplices betrayed 145 people, 107 Jews and 38 non-Jewish Dutchmen in the period between May 1943 and August 1944. Only a small proportion of these people survived the concentration camps. However, she may have been responsible for the deaths of as many as 700 people. She betrayed anyone who got in her way. Friends, her own brother, his wife, and their 3 children, as well as the family of her steady girlfriend. Another of his agents was Jean Valkenburg, who worked in Amsterdam as a prostitute and brothel madam. As a former Amsterdam police detective with many contacts in the underworld, Schaap knew her well. She was not a Jew, but she had been married to a Jewish man for a while, and then had a relationship with a Jewish market vendor. She therefore had good contacts in Jewish circles and helped Jews with false identity cards and hiding addresses. However, she was caught by the Nazis and then became active as Schaap's agent, who used her to hunt Jews. She betrayed about 50 of them. During the raids, Schaap appropriated money as well as valuables from the Jews. During one such raid, he was seen putting a box of jewelry and a briefcase of silver cutlery into his pocket. The valuables, worth around 10,000 guilders, belonged to a Jew named Martin Cohen, who ended up in Westerbork transit camp and was then deported to Auschwitz, where he died on the 6th of September, 1944. On another occasion, he arrested Fritz Stibbe, a Jewish man who before the war had earned his living as a sales representative. In 1942, he went into hiding but was betrayed, and on the 2nd of May, 1943, he was arrested by Schaap at his hiding place in Amsterdam. When his friend and colleague Moses Velleman visited him, he was also taken along. Stibbe died in Sobibor on the 14th of May, 1943, and Moses Velleman was murdered in the same extermination camp 1 week later. Though Schaap was married, he had a number of affairs and had no problem with having sexual relations with Jewish collaborators, which under the law for the protection of German blood and German honor was punishable by severe imprisonment or even death. However, at the time, it was a common practice that both Dutch and German SD members of the Office of Jewish Affairs had affairs with Jewish women. In 1944, together with his boss Abraham Kaper and 8 others, Schaap was sent to a German police station in Groningen to strengthen the local police team. Their expertise with investigative methods gained in Amsterdam, and the fact that they were not known in Groningen, meant that they could easily go undercover among the population to make numerous arrests there. In the process, Schaap gained a reputation as an increasingly cruel interrogator and executioner. Often, during interrogations in his office, Kaper calmly asked the questions, and Schaap stood behind the detainee, fiddling with a whip. When the friendly approach was not working, Kaper left the room, and Schaap began the beatings. Although he captured significantly fewer Jews than in Amsterdam, that had little or nothing to do with his effectivity. The reason was that most of the Jews in Groningen had already been arrested and deported by mid-1944. One of Schaap's most outstanding collaborators was Leopold David de Jong, who lived in Hemstede and was married to a German, non-Jewish woman. He was a Jew, but the status of a mixed marriage gave him some protection against deportation. During a check by Schaap, he pretended to be a half-Jew, but Schaap found out quite quickly that this was not true. He then put heavy pressure on de Jong, who succumbed, went to work for Schaap, and betrayed about 50 Jews, including his brother. Over time, de Jong became afraid that he would be exposed as an accomplice of the SD, and on the advice of Schaap, de Jong voluntarily allowed himself to be transported to Westerbork transit camp. There too, he passed on incriminating information about other Jews to the local Nazi leadership, as well as to Schaap. As a result, he received all kinds of privileges in Westerbork. such as being allowed to go on leave to Groningen, where on one occasion de Jong, aware of the fact that his role as a traitor would be heavily held against him, asked Schaap to arrange for him to move to Switzerland, but he did not want to take his wife because she was cheating on him. After Schaap had told him that a flight to Switzerland would not work, de Jong revealed to Schaap that he had a plan to kill his wife. Schaap, who was sleeping with his wife, ensured that de Jong was arrested, and when he later tried to escape, he shot him, putting 2 bullets in his head. Because some Dutch citizens couldn't bear to see what was happening to their country and people, and resisted the occupation, they joined the resistance. This resistance's counterintelligence, domestic sabotage, and communications networks helped to provide key support to Allied forces throughout the liberation of Holland. Members of the resistance, if discovered, were immediately sentenced to death. Schaap was the one who tortured the captured members of the resistance and gave the yes to shoot at the executions of these members. On the 10th of April, 1945, Schaap personally shot and killed 10 members of the Dutch resistance in Bakkeveen after first torturing them. According to Schaap, though he had been instructed by his superiors to order them to lie down in a pit dug by themselves, where they would be killed with hand grenades, he found this inhumane and shot them instead. In the Netherlands, between 25 and 30,000 Jews went into hiding during the war. 2/3 of those managed to survive. The Germans officially surrendered all their troops in the Netherlands on the 5th of May, 1945, 3 days before the general capitulation of Germany. During his flight in April 1945, Schaap carried a bag full of valuables belonging to his victims. What did not fit in the bag, he had given to his wife and stepdaughter for safekeeping. After the war, numerous witnesses, both victims and former colleagues, confirmed that stealing, extorting, and looting were part of Schaap's normal behavior. While Schaap's wife, Maria Hendrika, was charged after the war for taking stolen property from victims from him, Schaap himself was captured, tried, and sentenced to death for crimes he had committed during the war. In a desperate attempt to save his life, Pieter Schaap, who during his reign of terror had no mercy with his victims, made an appeal for clemency. However, his request was rejected. Schaap was 47 years old when he was executed by firing squad on the 29th of June, 1949 in Groningen. He was executed together with his former boss, Abraham Kapper. There were no tears shed for Pieter Schaap. Thanks for watching the World History channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.